Hello, everybody. It's Mrs. Barber, and welcome back. I've missed talking to you. Today is day 26 of our indoor adventure time where we're taking care of each other and our families and our own hearts and minds. And you're doing lots of reading and lots of creative things, cooking with your family, learning a little bit more about your parents. Things have slowed down, and you get lots of time with mom and dad, lots of time with your pets and your imagination. And I am very excited about some things. I had a really good weekend. And tonight I had an idea because I have some old stuff in my basement. I like to collect a lot of stuff. I had an old projector, like the one in the classroom, and an old VCR, which is this machine that plays tapes, and they have movies. Right now, you just go to On Demand or Hulu or whatever and you watch a movie, but I have these tapes you can put in the machine. And I put a big white sheet, and then Russell and Rose and we went outside and we watched 101 Dalmatians under the stars with the moon and the wind. And we had popcorn. And when we have a popcorn movie party, we always put a few M&Ms in. So we had a really good time tonight. And I was thinking about you and what I should do for this video, because I make the video the night before usually. So you get this on Monday, but for me, it's Sunday night. So I was thinking about, there's so many exciting things happening this week in our own class. Like we were celebrating Earth Day with your presentations tomorrow. And then on Tuesday, I've been talking to this author, an illustrator, Christopher Iliopoulos. And Brad Meltzer is the author, and he talks to me a lot. He wrote these I Am books, Ordinary People Changing the World. And Christopher Iliopoulos is an illustrator. And on Tuesday at 1 o'clock after our meeting, we're going to go to a special meeting. Only if you want to. You come with me if you want to. And we are going to watch a live reading of a book and an art lesson by Christopher Iliopoulos. So while you're checking out this book, you can think about what we're going to do on Tuesday for our special surprise. So his name is Christopher Iliopoulos, and I was looking at his art and I was thinking, it reminds me of two of my other favorite artists, Charles Schulz, who illustrated Peanuts. That's called Snoopy to you. You might know that. And the other one is Calvin and Hobbes. He is very inspired by them. And I know when I'm inspired, those people influence me. And Marie Curie should be an inspiration to all of you. She is such an important scientist. And if mom and dad have been talking to you about things that have been going on in the world, they might have told you about the great importance of science, of people trying to find ways to make things better right now. Scientists and doctors are our heroes. Moms and dads are our heroes. The people who bring us our groceries and help keep us healthy, those are our heroes too. And Marie Curie is a hero. And so I'm sure you would like me to stop talking so much and read about Marie Curie. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to do two, believe it or not, two science kind of activities today. Nope, no poem today because I'm going to focus on quite a long story and two short activities. I am Marie Curie. If you have a question you want me to ask this author, just let me know. I am Marie Curie. When I was 4 years old in Poland, this was one of my favorite treasures, my dad's glass cabinet filled with scientific instruments. I used to stare at it, wondering about each item. This is a physics apparatus. Physics apparatus. I didn't know what the words meant, but I'd never forget them. As a science teacher, my father needed these tools, but the Russian government soon shut down laboratory classes in our schools. They didn't want Polish kids to learn about science. They thought that education would be dangerous, that it would make us powerful. They were right. So there was something in history going on right here that was quite unfair, and that happens in the world in history sometimes. And Marie Curie is right. It was unfair. And she's also right that education is the most important thing you can do for your mind right now. I really liked learning. So I see a theme here between our other strong scientists, Jane Goodall and Shark Lady. They liked learning. They liked reading. when they were very little children. One day when my older sister was struggling to read, I picked up her book and read the first sentence easily. From the looks on everyone's faces, I thought I'd made a mistake. "How'd you do that? You're only 4 years old." "I don't know. Did I do something wrong?" "No, it was amazing." Back then, men didn't think girls could be good students, and they certainly didn't think we could be scientists, so boys were always trying to challenge me. Okay, so I'm going to read you this poem. If you're so smart, you should be able to write the whole thing from memory. You ready? I guess so. Think she'll be able to do it? Not a chance. How's this? I don't believe it. She didn't miss a word. From the very start, there was one person who always believed in me, my dad. When my mom got sick, he took care of us kids. Since he was a teacher, even if we were just taking a walk, he was giving us a new scientific lesson. "See that sunset, Manya? It looks like the sun's moving, but really it's the earth that's spinning." Manya was my nickname. Back then, we didn't have phones, TVs, or computers, so our Saturday nights were spent with Dad sharing one of the most powerful things of all, books. He read us classics like David Copperfield and one of my favorites, A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, who I think you will like when you're just a little older. "It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness." Growing up, life was hard. My mom and one of her sisters passed away. My father wasn't allowed to teach the subject he loved. We didn't have much money. To escape the hard times, I would read. Books were a place when I could enter another world, draw, and dance. One night I danced so long I completely wore out my shoes. So she is having a hard time, like it feels like for some of us right now. And she is using that time to read, to draw, to dance. And if you're making a connection to this book for one of these reasons, or you're thinking in this indoor adventure time you're doing something else to make your heart happy and make the hearts of the people you love happy, you can make a strong connection to Marie Curie. At 15, I graduated from high school early. I won the gold medal for being first in my class. By 16, I knew I wanted to make an impact on the world. I even knew how. I want to be a scientist. There was only one problem. Where I lived, the university didn't accept women. "I'm sorry, no girls allowed." That's not fair. They wouldn't let me in, but I had my own ideas. So in her class versus all the other children, boys and girls, she was the top student, which means she made the most A pluses, which means she did a lot of hard work and she had a very bright mind. She read all the things, she did all the tests, top of the class, but still couldn't go to college. And she knew that was not fair. Lucky for me, someone started a secret college where they taught women subjects that no one else would teach us. It was called Flying University. That's the coolest name, right? The college didn't really fly, but with more than 1,000 women enrolled, it was magical and powerful. This is called the periodic table. It lists every element we know, like hydrogen, oxygen, and as a challenge today, I'd like you to look up the periodic table of elements. Some of you are it's gonna blow your mind. You're gonna be like, whoa. Eventually, my sister Branya and I made a plan. We would save enough money to go to the Sorbonne in France, one of the most famous universities in the world. But we didn't have enough money for both of us. "You go first, then I'll follow. You sure you'll be okay?" "Don't worry, I'll never stop learning." Every day, I was so determined to become a scientist. I wake up at 6 a.m. and read books in 3 different languages on physics and anatomy. Then I do the math problems my dad would send me to solve. So it looks like one of them got to go, and it looks like it's Marie. Her sister believed in her. By the time I was 18, I was doing my own experiments and drawing my own conclusions. I also learned one of the most valuable lessons of all. You should never accept everything as it is. Life, like science, can always be made better. I do chemistry and physics experiments here. Watch this. Poof! This is the one. This is the first laboratory I ever had access to. It was run by my cousin. Watch this one, though. Poof! Poof, 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 poof. Ta-da! I had lots of accidents and failures. Making change is never easy. It takes hard work. And we talked about that, how scientists don't just look at a problem and solve the problem. They observe, they take calculations, and they think. And they spend a lot of time writing things down and trying again. Finally, when I was 23, my dream came true. I became a student at the Sorbonne. I would dedicate my life to science. You sure you know what you're getting into? Well, I guess her sister went and she followed after. Absolutely. I couldn't tell. They look identical to me. I felt like a new person with new power. When I got there, I even signed the registration book differently. Call me my new name, Marie, and registrement. Like I said, making change isn't easy. I had to climb 6 flights of stairs to get to my room. It had a tiny stove and there wasn't much to eat. In the winter, it was so cold that the water would freeze in the basin. I'd have to sleep under all my clothes. I know it sounds hard, but it was worth it to be able to study what I wanted. These were some of the best years of my life. Can you imagine wanting to learn to read and study so badly that you would stay in an almost frozen room with no food and only your clothes were your blankets? I think she's very admirable. I also think she's very determined. She had ideas of what she wanted, and she had a perspective that it was all worth it. The Sorbonne School of Science had 2,000 students. Only 23 were women. And only 2 of us were studying science. I was so nervous during my first exam I could barely read it. But when the professor announced our scores, Marie Curie is first in her class. Okay, Marie was first in her school class. And then out of 2,000 students, she was first in her university class, the most prestigious university in Europe. In 1893, I got my degree in physics. A year later, I got a second degree in mathematics. Soon after, I got married to a scientist, of course. This is my husband, Pierre. When we had a daughter, people thought I would spend less time in the lab. But Pierre worked hard to make sure we were equal partners. My dad helped, too, by babysitting. Look at that picture. Back then, people thought that men were supposed to get jobs and women were supposed to stay home. Again, I had my own ideas. The only thing you're supposed to do is chase what you love. This was my next lab, a crowded, damp storeroom. I started studying a chemical element called uranium. According to my instruments, it gave off certain rays. These rays are filled with energy that we can study and use. I made up a new term for it, radioactivity. My husband found my research exciting too. He put aside his own work to join me. Together we discovered 2 brand new elements, polonium and radium. Who is this woman? What does she know about science? She knows a lot. Scientists believe that atoms behaved in a certain way. But guess what I had? Other ideas? You better believe it. Those ideas based on my research changed the way the world looked at atoms and radioactivity. In 1903, I was nominated along with my husband and other scientists named Henry Becquerel for the Nobel Peace Prize in Physics, one of the most prestigious awards in science. I was the first woman to win the Nobel Prize. At first, they incorrectly said it was just the 2 men who did all the work. But Pierre wouldn't accept the prize until they told the truth and gave me credit. Because I was a woman, though, they wouldn't let me address the audience. That means she wasn't allowed to talk to the people. First in her class when she was young, first in her class at the Sorbonne, made these scientific discoveries, yet still they said, no, a lady cannot take the award, even though she really won it. Eventually, I became the first woman professor at the Sorbonne. Then my lab became the top place in the world for studying radium and measuring radioactivity. We had a staff of 22 plus 20 additional women scientists as volunteers. From there, I won a second Nobel Prize by myself, this time in chemistry. I was the first person to ever receive Nobel Prizes in 2 fields. She's an inspiration. Then, I invented mobile X-ray units to help treat soldiers during World War I. This is my daughter, Irene, who also wanted to be a scientist. She used to come with me. She's an inspiration. In the United States, I even got invited to the White House, where President Harding presented me with 1 gram of radium in a lockbox. It was worth more than $100,000, a gift from women in America who'd collected money so I could continue my groundbreaking work. She's such an inspiration. In my life, I was told that only boys could be educated. Only boys should study science. Only boys could win awards. I had other ideas. Don't let anyone limit what you can achieve. It's easy to follow the crowd and do what's been done before. But to forge your own path, you have to be daring. You have to risk failure. That's how you learn. Education is like a magic key. It unlocks knowledge. And with that knowledge, you have power. Today, Marie Curie's findings on radiation are an important part of how doctors treat people with cancer. After she won her second Nobel Peace Prize, no other woman won again for 24 years until her daughter Irene won it. In 1995, they moved her remains to the French Pantheon, the first woman recognized there for her accomplishments. But here's the sign that's still there. To the great men from a grateful country. So the sign in there says to the great men, but there's a lady in there. Did you know her face is on French money, the 500 franc note? Today, there are many amazing women scientists, and there can be even more. Join us. Your experiments and ideas can help change the world. Science taught me to ask questions. Experiment, fail, try again, and then try some more. You won't always find the answers you expect, and that's okay. You will find new information, new questions, new possibilities. I am Marie Curie. I know the power of discovery. Elizabeth Blackburn, biologist. Sally Ride, astronaut. Mae Jemison, astronaut. Grace Hopper, computer scientist. Dorothy Hodgkin, chemist. Katherine Johnson, mathematician. Lisa Meitner, physicist. And this is the real Marie Curie. That is her picture. And she's so smart and so strong. Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. And there's Marie with her husband. And there's Marie as a little girl. And teaching at the Sorbonne. She had a giant class, much bigger than our class. And Marie in her laboratory. Isn't that an amazing picture? So Christopher Iliopoulos, he did not make these pictures. He made this picture. So on Tuesday, we will hear a new book that he has and see him draw, and he'll teach us a drawing lesson. I really was inspired by this book. I hadn't read it before today. Sometimes I just wait to read to you to discover some new things. I learned a lot. I want to do some more research on Marie Curie. I'm going to do that. And if you'd like to join me and write a report and share it with me and teach me something new, I would love that. Her name's Marie Curie. Okay, so our science experiments, because I don't want to take too long. We started last week. I used some old celery and some dye, and let's see what has happened. So it looks like it's very obvious that the red dye has soaked into the celery. And I want to ask you, do you think more red dye has soaked in, or do you think it's just easier to see? So I'm going to leave you with that question. Scientists ask questions. Is it that it soaked up more or is it easier to see? And how we might be able to tell is to make some changes in our experiment. Scientists make changes. I'm not going to tell you what they are. I want you to think about it. Okay, so lots of talk about some sickness right now. Lots to talk about washing hands. So my second activity is me with a can of shaving cream. Remember how we used to put this on our tables and smear it and then we write words in it? Well, today I'm going to use it as my hand soap, and I'm going to give you a quick lesson on washing hands. So here is my soap. I'm just going to put it here because I'm going to have to scoop some up. Okay, that's so fun and satisfying. Okay, so I'm going to wash my hands. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. My hands are clean, right? My hands are so clean. There's soap on them. I can rinse them. Wait a minute. That's not right. I sang the alphabet song. I rubbed my hands. How is one side clean and one side germy? I guess I'll have to do it again. Okay, I'm just going to do this. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, what you singing with me? Done? Oh, no. Okay, look at this hand. Look at the sides. Look between my fingers. Now, let's try it in a way that actually washes hands. So you rub together. You go through your fingers. You rub on the tops. You rub on the sides. So rub together. Go between your fingers. Rub on the tops. Rub on the sides. Swirl it all around. Give your hand a little party. And then, ta-da! So I would encourage you today, I didn't even get that part. I would encourage you today to ask your father or mother if they have some shaving cream and do the same lesson with them. Say, I'm going to put a little shaving cream on your hands and I'd like you to rub them like you're washing them and see if you can find any empty spots. Look at my thumb. I have an empty spot. I need to do the twirly. I forgot about this. Doctors do this. Swirl it all around. Make sure you get soap on every spot and then you wash it off. I love you very much. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.